Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along.
Hello, welcome back to Real Do It Yourself Build. This is part 2 where we're going to build up to damp proof course. In the previous video we cleared the site, we got the building officer around, he told us what he wanted to see from the foundations, we dug down to foundation depth, we poured the concrete, and now we're ready to start building. In this video we're going to go up to damp proof course, and we're also going to prepare what they call the oversight, which is the ground level or the floor of the entire interior of the building. We're also going to be doing our mortar mixing, and we'll show you how we mix our mortar. And what you'll find is at the very start of this video, when we first started, our mortar mixing was terrible, and you can see it wasn't very good, and we improved and improved, and by the end of the period where we got up to damp proof course, we learned how to mix the mortar really well. So there's a few good tips that we can give you on that, so that you can start with a really good mix at the very beginning, and it really does help. Anyway, on with the build. Okay, so we're ready to start laying the bricks shortly. We've got ourselves laid out. The floor's marked where the corner's going to be, and then around there's a mark on the floor where we're going to meet the wall, and then we're going to build up to damp proof course. On this side there's a mark just next to that brick there, and once we get the first bricks in, we'll then put a line between them to make sure that we're all nice and straight. We've got a few bricks on our spot boards, and Terry will be bringing more bricks across as we use these ones. We've got a spot board there ready for our cement, for our mortar, sorry, and what we're going to do is we're going to make our first mix. We're going to be using 4:1 mix of sand and cement, and we're going to be using the Bostik plasticizer. So we're ready to make our first mix now, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to use 4 buckets of cement, 4 buckets of sand, 1 bucket of cement, so it's going to be a 4:1 mix, and we're going to add this. It's a concentrated plasticizer, and it's got a little measuring thing at the top. If you just squeeze the bottle, Tez, and let's have a look at that, and that will fill up the top. Now it's 12 millimeters for 25 kilograms of, or 12 milliliters for 25 kilograms of cement. We're only using half a bag at the moment. We're using 12 kilograms of cement, so we're just putting 6 milliliters in. The bottle's marked, and then you put it into your water, you stir it up so that it's all thoroughly mixed, and then we've put that into our mixer first. Now we're going to add 2 sand, and then we're going to put the cement in, and then we'll add another 2 sand so that it's all well and truly mixed in, and we'll show you how that works. We'd gone with a 4:1 mix, and in hindsight I'd probably change that to a 5:1. The 4:1 is stronger than a 5:1 mix, probably stronger than we need, but the problem we found was that it produced a very, very light coloured mortar once it had dried out, and I would have preferred it aesthetically to be slightly darker. We found it best to add water a small amount at a time. If you add too much too soon, then it becomes very sloppy very quickly. By adding a little bit at a time, we found that we could slowly get it to a perfect mix, which we achieved after our 3rd or 4th attempt. Our first 1 or 2 mixes tended to be a little bit on the dry side, and they were very, very firm and difficult to work with, and you'll see that later when we come to put the bricks down. But if you look at the cement mixer there, the paddles inside have got holes in, and what I found was when we had the perfect mix, when we finally got better at this, the
the mortar used to come through the holes in the paddles, and it'd come through about 150 millimeters before it'd turn over and break off, and then the next paddle would come round, and that's what we looked for, and that gave us a perfect mix. So there's one to watch out for.
Lay the first bricks down here, and then we're going to build a corner here and put a line between the two. We're just going to raise the level here. That's one brick lower than this. We did that when we put the shutters in. So here we go, all marked out. I'm going to work from the barrow for now, and then we'll be using a spot board later. But let's just start with this. Whoops. Oh yeah, all right. Just working to the line. It's a little bit firm, to be fair.
We laid the first of the mortar on the line that we'd drawn on the foundation where we wanted the outside of the bricks to be, and you can see it's a bit thick, it's a little bit scruffy, but we managed to get the bed of mortar down. Then we laid the first of the bricks coming from the wall, and we reached the point where the drain had been covered, so we put the lintel in over that. You can see the lintel just needs a little straightening up. We managed to do that, and then we put the next row of bricks straight across the top of the lintel and then on down to the corner where we'd first started.
Okay, so as you can see, we're now working to a line. We've built up a corner at one end of the foundation, and we're just going to lay a course of bricks straight down to that corner there where we marked out yesterday.
We've used a bubble to make sure the line is level and our wall doesn't slope downwards, and there's our first course. We're well underway and everything's nice and straight and the corner's looking good. Away we go. We got the next few rows on and got the outer leaf up to damp proof level. We had 5 rows of bricks to do this, which meant that on the inner leaf we had to put 2 rows of bricks and then 1 row of blocks to get that up to level too. We also put our second lintel in, so both leaves of the wall were now supported over where the drain had been. In the previous video I explained that we were going to use a 150mm cavity. This makes the wall quite wide, but it's the best way, or the cheapest way we found, to achieve the new regulations for cavity insulation. And if you look on the table on the right, the third one down is a 150mm cavity with 0.32 full fill insulation, which is the rock wool 0.32 is what we've used, and 100mm block work with a thermal conductivity of 0.15, which happens to be the Celcon Thermalite blocks. So this was the cheapest way for us to achieve the standard required by the new regulations.
Okay, this is day 5 of the project. We've got part of the wall there up to damp proof course, and we've got our block in at that end in order to take us across to there to get these 2 walls up to damp proof. We haven't started on the other trench yet. We'll be doing that next weekend, or day 6, and yeah, so far so good. We've got 150mm cavity as explained to meet with the new building regs, and we'll be filling that in with insulation. We've got to drop the level of the floor inside a little bit so that we can get our hardcore in, which we've already got, and our insulation. So that's it, the end of day 5. Okay, this is where the back door is going to be. So we're going to build down here, mark the floor off. We're going to build out, that's going to be our block work, the inner leaf. We're going to have brickwork around the outside, and we'll get up to damp proof course, and then we'll open a door up and we'll have a back door into the garden here. So we're ready to go. As soon as we get a mix gone, we'll get some bricks in, and that'll be us gone. Trying this Pretty Pro. It's that piece of kit there, and it puts a bead of cement onto your current course of brickwork, and it comes out really level. You use this bit to put to the end, and when I pull that away, you see that you get this perfect piece. Now what I'm going to do is just put the next brick on, just line that up, and then when I check it, I'm finding every single one is absolutely bang on. It recommends that you just tap it into place to get the cement tight. That's absolutely perfect. And I check the plumb as well, and absolutely perfect every time. Spot on.
Once we got all the walls up to damp proof course on all sides, then we had the task of lowering the floor. I wish we'd done a little bit more when we had the digger, but nevertheless, on we go.
So the next thing we have to do is get the floor down, or the level of the ground down, to the point where we can start building the floor up from the bottom. We're going to put in 4 inches of hardcore, then a couple of inches of sand to make it nice and smooth, then 6 inches of insulation, and then we're going to top that off with 4 inches of concrete as a slab that will be our kitchen floor, or this part of the kitchen floor. The other thing is, in between the sand and the insulation, and then the insulation and the concrete, there's going to be 2 damp proof membranes. So there'll be one at the bottom, one underneath, and then one in the centre. So it'll be, yes, there'll be 2 of those. And that's what we're doing now. Yeah, just quickly getting down to level so that we can put our hardcore in. And then we'll be able to get our insulation and everything on top of that. Well, here we are, down to level. Got it all nice and flat. It's been all raked out and we've checked it for level. It's really nice and smooth. We're about to put the hardcore on, and we can begin the process of building up the floor. When we get building officer's approval, we'll be good to go. And there we are.
Another part of building regulations relates to what we call the concrete cavity fill, which is below the damp proof course. In the cavity itself we put concrete, and that slopes towards the outer wall, or the outer leaf of the wall. And the reason for this is, when we backfill and put the floor in and then put the soil back on the outside, when we fill in the foundation again, the pressure of the soil doesn't crush the walls together. Now, part of the regulation is that below your damp proof course you must have a minimum of 225 millimeters of clear space, so that any water that does get in will drop way below the damp proof course, if ever water does get in, that is.
There we go, first of the hardcore going in, and about time too. Whoops. There. Joke on. Where's the fuel? Oh, and that's obviously the spade.
The building officer had said he wanted to see us after we were up to damp proof course and when the hardcore was in and flattened down. That's all done now. The building officer's been and he's told us the next time he wants to see us is when we reach wall plate height. The wall plate is the piece of wood that goes around the top of the wall and it holds the roof on. In the next video we'll be showing you how we put the floor in, put the concrete in to finish the floor, put the wall starters on, put the walls up, and finally got to wall plate height. And we'll show you how we fit the wall plate and everything we have to do to comply with the regulations. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video because that's what will keep us going. And I'll see you all next time. Let's get going.